Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recap. So, new year, new recap. It is now time for me to do my first 2024 recap, and we are, of course, kicking it off with January. And man, January. Oh, God. What a just I don't even have words to describe how just nothing January was. That's the word I would best describe January. Nothing. Nothing happened. Well, that's not true. Two movies came out that did well for themselves on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. But that's all worth really discussing. Everything else is a waste of time. This whole month was a waste. You were better off sitting at home. And for a lot of you, staying at home was the only option because the weather was shit. Especially where I live. Like I had to deal with snow and ice for like a week. It was awful. So I couldn't really do anything if I wanted to. So yeah, January it was bad. But before we talk about the January movies, and really there's not a whole lot to talk about because not much came out. I think it would be I think it's only appropriate that I go over some of the late December movies that came out last year that still did well in January because that's how January usually works. It's usually dominated by holdovers, like December holdovers. And this year is, no exception. So I just want to give a quick shout out to some movies. First of all, Godzilla Minus One, which officially ended its run at the final weekend of January. Right here, it opened like in early December, had really good legs, and then that last weekend of January it went out with a bang. It had like a black and white version, and it shot up back into the top 10. It's now made its final total is like 56 million, which is a lot for the type of movie it is, especially for like a foreign language movie. That's really good. So kudos to Godzilla Minus One for being a hit that December really needed, that the box office really needed. And then we also got Wonka, the only movie in December to really be a blockbuster, to live up to that potential, which is really sad to think about. But, Wonka still did really well for itself. I mean, it opened decently enough. Once Christmas, came, and, his box office predictably shot up. And in January, it's still going strong. It's still going strong as we speak into February. And now it's made 200 million domestically. It's one of the biggest movies of 2023 domestically. Worldwide, it's hit 570 million, which is actually a lot more than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So that's a flex right there. And yeah, Wonka, huge hit. Definitely a blockbuster hit. And I'm glad that movie did well and not Aquaman 2. I'm glad we live in that world. And I might as well mention American Fiction. Okay, I didn't make a prediction video for this, not because of like any bias, it's because I just didn't care. I literally didn't care. I thought about it and I just said, I just kind of just threw my hands in the air. It's like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just gonna not do it because it's really schedule was weird. Like I thought it was gonna be wide, then it wasn't gonna be wide, then it was wide, and I just did not want to deal with that. But for what it is, for an awards, obviously an Oscar baity flick, an award season flick, it's done okay-ish, especially compared to like other award centric movies, like especially compared to last year. Last year was awful. This year is comparatively better. Yeah, it's there. It's around. It's not doing amazing, but it could be a lot worse. So I just want to give that a shout out. Oh wait, I should give another movie a shout out. Poor Things. That's also been playing throughout January, and it's been doing okay. Better once the Oscar nominations were announced. It's down by like 28 million for what it is. That's actually a pretty impressive number because I heard this movie is weird. Like for a hella weird movie to make this much money, that's impressive. Especially for like a very much a movie that's not the most mainstream friendly in the world. So yeah, I say these numbers are all right for what this movie is. But we got only a few more to talk about. I'll mention anyone but you. I'm still flabbergasted as to how this movie has been, how it's how it's even a success. It just boggles the mind because this movie really is pulling a Greatest Showman and a Puss in Boots Last Wish, where it refuses to die. It's just chugging along, and it's still making money as we speak. It's now made 77 million. It's made 150 million worldwide, which is great for a movie like this. I guess this really shows the rom com isn't dead after all. You just need like the right movie, and this movie clearly has an audience that's been watching it for weeks. So yeah, and maybe rom coms shouldn't be all dumped onto streaming. Maybe they should be given a chance theatrically. But yeah, anyone but you are. If you ask me, this was the surprise hit. This was like, the real impressive performer of all the December movies. I mean, sure, Wonka did well, but Wonka, that's a big IP. It's a well-known IP. Anyone but you doesn't have that advantage. So the fact that it's done as well as it has, I think, is hella hella impressive. So anyone but you are honestly like, I think it's honestly between that and Wonka for like the real winner of December. Aquaman 2 is not much to discuss there. Migration made 100 million. I mean, that's good. It won't be Illumination's worst performing movie. Still not good, great, but could be worse. You could be Wish, okay? Could you could have been like that, but it avoided that fate. And that's really it for like the late December movies. I just wanted to talk about them before we got to the actual 2024 movies. Now, January movies. Let's finally talk about them. And as usual, I'm gonna be going over my own. I'm gonna be comparing my own personal predictions to what actually happened because I find that to be fun. So let's get started with January 5th with Night Swim, a movie with probably one of the lamest premises I've seen or read in a while, because this horror movie is about like a haunted pool, and it's just I can't take that seriously for the life of me. I can't. I watched the trailer for this, and it just looks so just goofy. It's real goofy. Like, I can't take this seriously at all. Like, and when they came out, got pretty shit reviews, but I didn't think that would. I wasn't sure if that would really hurt his chances, because when it comes to early January horror movies, it really doesn't matter how awful your movie is. You might There's a solid chance you'll still make money because people need to watch something new, and they'll just watch anything at that point. So for Night Swim, I predicted an opening weekend of 10 million and a final total of like 20 to 25 million. I didn't think this would do as well as other early January horror movies because the premise was just so weak. But it opened with 11.7 million. Okay, so there's that. And it's now made 29 million domestically, so it's exceeded my final prediction. And it's made 44 million worldwide. I think the budget was like 15 million or so. So it's not like a bad performer, but it's certainly not great. Not exactly how you want to kick off 2024. I mean, like last year, we had Megan, which opened like almost three times as much as this. That opened with 30 million. So this looks real bad compared to that. So I mean, they're not going to lose. No one's going to lose any money on this, but they're not going to gain a whole lot of money either. So it's just mediocre at best. That's how I would describe its box office: mediocre at best. And it's a movie that's definitely going to be forgotten. I'm pretty sure it's already been forgotten already, but it'll probably be brought up at the end of the year when they talk about like worst movies of 2024. I would imagine that's good. I imagine that's going to be the case. Yeah, Night Swim didn't exactly get 2024 off to the best start, But the month did show promise in the next weekend with January 12th. This is where January peaked, by the way. We had a bunch of movies come out. Well, I might as well mention Gunther Kareem because I didn't make a prediction video for that. That apparently opened with like 4,800,800 theaters. I mean, that's pretty good for what it is. For like I don't know if it's Bollywood or Tollywood. I'm not sure, but anywho, for what it is, it's fine. It's whatever. And the American Fiction, I already mentioned that. I could have made a prediction video that weekend, but I was like, I'm already doing 4. I am not doing 5. That's too much. I already went through enough in December. I don't want to go through that again. Not so soon, anyway. But for all the other movies, let's talk about the Beekeeper, the latest Jason Statham action flick. You know, for initially, I wasn't thinking this movie would do. Like, I wasn't say I'm losing my train of thought. I didn't think this movie was gonna do awful, but I didn't think it was gonna do great because like Jason Statham movies, I mean, he has his fans, but they're very niche in a way. Like there's a ceiling for those movies. Like the ceiling is like 30 million or below most of the time, unless it's a part of some big ensemble like Expendables or The Meg or Fast and Furious or something like that. So Beekeeper, I wasn't expecting any different. You know, I thought like the trailer and like the name of the movie, it just the Beekeeper doesn't sound like an action movie to me. It sounds like a horror movie. But yeah, I thought the name was like kind of funny. But Beekeeper, you know, I saw it's Thursday night numbers. I'm like, okay, this movie actually has some momentum. I'm surprised. So I predicted an opening weekend of like 18 to 20 million for the 3 day and like 20 to 25, something like that for 4 day. And its final total, like, I don't remember, 45 to 55, I think. And opening weekend, it hit 16.5 million. It was definitely affected by weather. Every movie was affected by weather because when it comes to weather, like snow and ice, it will mess up the box office. It will do some damage to those numbers. And yeah, like had a really good Thursday preview, then it kind of just slid after that. But it made like 18 million for like the 4 day weekend, which is, you know, it's not quite up to my prediction, but it's still fine. And now it has made 50 million. Its legs have been pretty solid, surprisingly solid. It almost won the final weekend of January. It was number one in estimates, but when the actual numbers came out, it ended up being number two behind the Mean Girls musical because they severely overestimated Sunday. And the thing is, that was going up against a big football game, and obviously the target audience for this weren't going to go to the movies that day. They're going to watch the game. So yeah, obviously it wasn't going to do well that Sunday. But still, Beekeeper, 50 million for January, that's pretty solid. And it's made over 100 million worldwide. I was not expecting that. So theoretically, it seems like this could lead to a new franchise for Jason Statham. You know, that's not Fast and the Furious or The Meg. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, I'm not gonna say Expendables because after Expendables 4, we're never gonna get another one of those again. They honestly shouldn't have made Expendables 4. I'm sorry, Expendables. My bad. The fact that they made that at all is just baffling. But Beekeeper, this could be a franchise starter theoretically. But yeah, Beekeeper did well, did quite well for itself. So kudos that. You know what didn't do well for itself? Book of Clarence. This movie did terrible, and I kind of expected it would do terrible. The writing was pretty much on the wall before release, but I predicted like 2 to 3 million for its 3 day weekend, like 3 to 4 for its 4 day weekend, like less than 10 for its overall run. I think I don't remember the exact numbers, but it opened with like 2.5, 2.5 million, and then it's just gone at this point. It's just not. No, I don't even think it's gonna hit 6 million. well, barely hit 6 million. But yeah, I'm not super surprised about this. This movie had no fanfare, no hype, no nothing. It was just kind of there. That's all I could really say. And obviously, with a movie like this, I didn't think it would appeal to the typical faith-based audience that usually comes out for like movie that come out for movies like say Passion of the Christ and uh it was like Son of God and more contemporary stuff like God's Not Dead and Heaven is Real and Miracles from Heaven, like that type of stuff. This clearly wasn't aimed towards, well, I don't think it didn't really appeal to that group because this movie, like Noah, in a different way, it took some liberties with the source material, and I imagine that was not going to fly with that group. So yeah, I'm not surprised this didn't do well. Maybe it'll find like a cult following, maybe later on down the line, but for now, it's a total flop. Now, on to Mean Girls, the biggest movie of January. Well, Mean Girls 2024, the musical version. I actually watched this movie, by the way. I wanted to see it opening weekend, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it just didn't work. I was thinking, oh, I'll just like push it back to the next weekend. Oh, that what a terrible mistake that was. Because literally the Sunday, like the 14th, right here, the 14th, that's when everything went to hell. Well, not hell, everything went to ice that night. And it was awful. It happened so quick. I was on the road because I was working, or at least for a few hours before things got so bad that we just shut down. We just had to go home. And going home was a nightmare. That whole experience of that snow and ice was an absolute nightmare. I don't want to see snow and ice for at least another year. If I don't have to see it ever again, then good. Because that is not something I want to deal with ever. But yeah, I ended up watching Mean Girls like in its third weekend because of that. So yeah, and I saw it. It wasn't awful, but it definitely wasn't that great. It was very much a 5, 6 out of 10 movie for me. I knew it wasn't gonna live up to the original because I love the original movie to death. It's my favorite comedy. It has so many quotable lines. And like this one, obviously it had to be different. You can't just copy the original script verbatim. You can't do that. But it's just not the same. Maybe it's because I'm just kind of old. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not even that old. I'm like 24, but I feel old. Like I feel like a boomer amongst my generation. But yeah, this movie wasn't that great. But hey, I'd still watch it over like Ant-Man 3. I'll tell you that. But yeah, with Mean Girls 2024, I wasn't sure how it would do prior to release because this movie was supposed to be a Paramount Plus movie, and then they decided to make it theatrical. Guess to throw theaters a bone, give them some movies, some content. That way, things won't be super depressing. I mean, they were already depressing, but they're not like just super like uber depressing. And before release, it was expected to open like 30 million. I'm like, wow, that's a okay. That's more than I expect. I thought it would be like 20 million, but 30, that's pretty good. So I predicted an opening weekend of 25 to 30 million for 3 day and 30 to 35 million for 4 day, and its final total like 60 to 80 million. Well, it hit 28.6 million for the 3 day, 33.6 for the 4 day. Its legs have been moderate. Second weekend was a little rough, but it was able to recover. It was number one for 3 weeks. It pulled off the hat trick. That's pretty neat. Although it's not like it had, strong competition to deal with. So, it was basically number one for 3 weeks by default. But still, it's a nice, um, nice achievement, I guess. And now it has made 67 million domestically, 93 million worldwide on a budget of like 36 million. So it's technically a success. I mean, it's not going to make as much as the first movie, but it's definitely more than I thought for a movie like this. And, hey, look at that. Paramount making a decent decision. Just like Smile. Smile could have been Paramount Plus movie. But they're like, no, we might have something here. We might make a couple dollars. Let's put it in theaters. And guess what? It worked for Smile. And it worked here for Mean Girls 2024. And sure, when it comes to like recent musicals, it's no Wonka when it comes to box office. But it did a whole lot better than The Color Purple. Okay, and The Color Purple, that movie started so strong and then it died so fast in record time. It was crazy. Mean Girls didn't really deal with that. And plus it cost way less. So, yeah, Mean Girls, a moderate success, but still a success. Definitely the biggest success story in January, next to Beekeeper. Honestly, those two movies together are the biggest success stories. They're the only movies that they kept the month afloat. They kept they gave the box office a beating heart. It was a very faint beat. So yeah, but Mean Girls is the biggest hit of the month. So congrats, I guess. And now Soul. Oof. Oh God. Okay. I wasn't expecting anything from this because, as you know, this was supposed to come out as said June 2020. That was the plan. Then COVID, everything got fucked up, and Soul ended up getting dumped on Disney Plus like Christmas Day of 2020. And the same thing happened with Luca and Turning Red. Both were supposed to be theatrical, then went to Disney Plus because things were just not good. So you robbed theaters of movies, and now in 2024, I guess because Disney, as you know, Disney, they're not doing so hot financially. It's not a good time to be the Mouse House. I guess they decided to throw theaters, I guess, a bone to be like an apology package or something, if you want to call it that, by re-releasing, like officially releasing Soul, Luca, and Turning Red in theaters for the first time in America, at least. um, and Soul was the first one. I had predicted it would open with like 1 to 2 million, like 3 to 4 million, uh, for the 4 day weekend, and the final total of like 10 million. I think I don't remember exactly. I think that's what I said. Man, I couldn't have been so. It's embarrassing, but man, I was so wrong by a by a rather brutal degree. Because it didn't even open with 1 million. It didn't even open with half of 1 million. It opened with 431,000 and 558,000 for the 4 day, and now yeah, it's done. It won't even hit. It didn't even hit 1 million. Like, damn, dude. I guess I don't know. I get. I guess. Well, one could argue these re-releases were pointless because anyone who wanted to see Soul has already seen Soul on Disney Plus, and there was no real demand for these to be like seen on the big screen. I mean, it's cool that they get a chance to be seen, but there was no demand for it. There was no, like, there was just nothing. I guess a lot of people just kind of viewed it as like a cash grab, and it didn't help. It had like no advertising like at all. But you know what? At least they didn't pull an Avatar and like removed it from Disney Plus. Like if you wanted to see Soul when it was in theaters, you can still watch it on Disney Plus. That I'll give Disney that. You did the right thing because removing it from Disney Plus would have been a real dick move. I mean, sure, you might have increased your earnings a little bit, but it would not have been worth it. So, yeah, Soul, it's a true theatrical release disaster, and I don't think the box office returning Red or Lucas. I don't think it's gonna be much better. So yeah, ugh. Yeah. So I'm at Disney's like, damn, that was a mistake. That's why we need more sequels. That's why we need Moana 2 and Zootopia 2 and Toy Story 5 and Frozen 2 is Frozen 3 is it's just a bunch of slop, man. I can see why people use the term slop for Disney movies. Well, slop or sludge, either work. Ugh. And now on to the last movie of January. Well, actually, is it the last one? Well, I guess I can mention the last one I actually talked about. I guess is Origin. Did that actually go wide? Origin. This was like an Oscar movie. I guess it did. A little over 600 theaters. I didn't make a prediction video for it because I just didn't care. But I guess for what it is, for who even this is Neon. I guess for Neon standards, it's one of their bigger movies technically. So just that, I guess. Um, but yeah, not much to say about that. There's Fighter too. I'm not sure what that is. I guess is it another Baldy? Yes, another Baldy slash Tollywood movie. For what it is it okay? And for I don't know how to say that name, man. It doesn't even matter. Like apparently this was wide. Wait, and nobody gave a damn about it. Not even me. I didn't even know this existed. It wasn't even wide. No, it was wide. I didn't even know about it. It barely wide. Like there's no point in talking about it now. Now ISS, this did open like legit wide, so I will talk about this because I made an actual video on this. So my prediction video, I predicted like 1 to 2 million, like final total 3 to 4 million. I was convinced this movie would have a very short life, and it did. But its opening weekend was better than I expected. It opened with like 3 million. Then afterwards, it died. Fell 57 million, then 76 million. It's gone. It's pretty much gone from theaters at this point. So it's now made over 6 million. So could have been worse, I guess. But this from Bleecker Street. I do not understand their strategy. I really don't. What's the point of releasing these movies in theaters for like a few weeks? Like I don't. I mean, I know it's to prop up like PVOD sales like later on down the line. It's like a long term plan, but still, ugh, I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but it just I don't I don't know. It doesn't help these movies just pop on the calendar whenever they feel like it. They sneak up on me, and I'm not a fan of that. So yeah, but ISS, no one really cared about it. It made no money, and that's the end of that. And that's the end of January. So yeah, total waste of time. Now February is a little more interesting, but it's still not very good. I mean, Argyle, total flop. Easily the first big disaster of 2024. So month's already up to a hot start, as you can already tell. Then you got Lisa Frankenstein, which I'm not expecting that to do well at all. But that Bob Marley has a chance of success. That I could see that performing well. Madam Web, no. But I will watch it just to laugh at it. Okay. And I guess The Chosen, February is like the greatest month for your life if you're if you're a fan of The Chosen, because you get to see it 3 whole times with season 4 and season 1 through 3. I mean, opened pretty well. I don't. I'm not sure if the same thing will happen with episodes 4 through 6 and episodes like 7 through 8. Wait, where's oh yeah, episode 5. So it's part of 4 through 6 and like 7 and 8. I'm not sure those will do well. And then you got Demon Slayer. That should be good for like a 1 weekend. Drive Away Dolls. Ordinary Angels. Yeah, February is not that good, but it's at least a little more interesting than January. But yeah, that's what things look like. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage, all previous recap videos I've done on the channel. You want to watch any of them from beginning to now? Well, you want to watch any of them I've done the past few years? You can go right ahead. My February recap, might as well mention that. I'll be doing that the first week of March. Okay, first week of March. Between Dune Part 2 and Kung Fu Panda 4. That's when I'll make that video. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also box office predictions where I go over, I predict box office for movies. Every movie I talked about like in like detail, I made a prediction video for. When somewhat like main movies I talk about in detail. So if you want to watch any of them, any of those videos, I made so far for 2024, you can go right ahead. I might as well mention, I'll this weekend I'm gonna do Lisa Frankenstein, Turning Red, and Out of the Darkness. I guess I'll do those three over the weekend, so stay tuned for those as well. Um, let's see what else. There's the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I just made an episode about Zootopia 2 and Moana 2 getting dates. I will be doing another episode because apparently I missed Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, and the Mandalorian movie getting like, well, not dates, more like a release year. I missed that. So I'm just going to make a video on that to make up for it. Better late than never, right? So yeah, stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past cancel episodes I've made on the channel, you can go right ahead. You want to binge them all from the beginning to now, I highly encourage you to do that, so go do it. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.